bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
The Mississippi congressman who has proposed removing Donald Trump's Secret Service protection is addressing pushback to that proposal tonight.
Yeah, Congressman Benny Thompson spoke exclusively with 16 WAPT's Scott Simmons about the controversial legislation. Scott, is he backing down on that bill in light of the shooting?
No, he's not. In fact, Benny Thompson is on the House Homeland Security Committee, one of two committees in Congress currently investigating the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. He says his bill did not target Donald Trump, even though it was filed in April.
We won't know seriously where former President Trump stand in this situation until he goes before the judge.
Mississippi Congressman Benny Thompson says he is not backing down on his bill that would remove the Secret Service protection for former President Donald Trump because he is a convicted felon. Thompson says the measure hasn't been debated yet and Trump has not been sentenced.
They're in the custody of the Department of Corrections. So we wanted to clear the air on that. Former President Trump right now is the only convicted felon that's a protectee. President Biden's son, if he gets convicted, he too would be subject to that situation. So it's anybody.
He says also that he will not heed critics who want him off the forthcoming task force that is investigating the assassination attempt. Thompson is on the House Homeland Security Committee that is currently investigating how the Secret Service provided security in Pennsylvania and stopped short of saying that agency dropped the ball.
They take their job seriously, but sometimes the pressures to get an event on the books and done, you make missteps. And so part of what the oversight responsibility will be for this committee is to see if and what missteps occurred, correct them so that it won't happen again.
As that investigation is still in its early stages, Thompson defends that there are currently more than 30 persons with Secret Service protection. And if convicted and sentenced as a felon, they too would lose that protection, not just Trump.
We're a nation of laws. If a president breaks the law, becomes a convicted felon, and is sentenced to jail, he shouldn't have the taxpayers of this country protecting him in jail.
And Thompson says he won't entertain calls from state Republicans like Shad White for him to resign from office. This task force formation on the study and investigation of the Trump assassination comes up before the full House tomorrow. We're live tonight in Jackson. Scott Simmons, 16 WAPT.
Mississippi deserves better than Benny Thompson. Welcome to Whistleblower Wednesday. You know, the Rob Maness Show is live on Worldview Tube and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, Congressman Thompson served also on the National Coordinating Committee of a Communist Party USA Front. It's called the National Alliances Against Racist and Political Repression, which was led by leading party members Angela Davis and Charlene Mitchell. Look those folks up. He's also the unethical chairman of the illegal January 6th Select Committee. And as you just saw, is the author of legislation to remove Secret Service protection from President Donald J. Trump. And he has a Republican opponent that is endorsed by every major Republican office holder in the state, from Governor Reeves to Auditor Shad White. My guest today is that opponent, Ron Eller. Ron is an American patriot with 25 years of active duty military service. According to his website, he retired as a captain. Ron's journey in public service started when he joined the Army as a combat medic. He won awards like the Command's Soldier of the Year, but that wasn't good enough for him. He eventually climbed to the ranks of warrant officer and finally to commissioned officer. due to his superior service to our country. After his military retirement, Ron founded a manufacturing business and was an integral part of establishing the cardiac surgery program in Vicksburg, Mississippi. He continues his work in cardiac and thoracic surgery in one of the premier surgical programs in the state at St. Dominic's Hospital. Ron feels he can't stand by on the sidelines while career politicians like Thompson seek to radically change the fabric of America with one-party rule. So that's why he's called to continue to stand by the oath he took to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And Benny Thompson is the enemy from within. His long Marxist and communist record proves it, that he is not to be trusted and is a traitor to the United States Constitution. And this is why Ron's running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District of Mississippi. Ron, welcome to the Rob Maness Show.
Thank you, Colonel. It is a pleasure to be on the show with you today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and your audience. I do have to make one correction. I served 20 years, 4 months on active duty, 6 years in the South Pacific, Panama, Egypt, Israel, 3 years in Germany, Benin, Bragg, Jackson, San Antonio, Fort Rucker, Fort A.P. Hill, D.C., West Point, Fort Campbell. I moved a bunch of times in 20 years. In fact, I moved my wife and oldest son 18 times, and they didn't go to Panama, Rucker, Bragg either time. They didn't go to Egypt, Israel. So we were a family on the move because I guess you could say I was a stopgap measure. There's a problem. I was the kind of guy you drop in and I can holler and scream with the best of them.
Well, thanks for your service, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for yours as well.
I fully understand the moods. I think we counted 29 in my own career, and then my dad was Air Force Master Sergeant when he retired, and we moved a bunch of times with him as kids. So, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Well, hey, let's talk about you a little bit more and your positions on various things. You know, we got a lot of breaking news today, and we're going to talk about Thompson. Normally I wouldn't even want a political candidate to talk about their opponent and mention their name, but he's so widely known. And most importantly, the things that I just talked about in the opening, Ron, that's just the tip of the iceberg with this guy.
It is.
But first, let's talk about you. There's some breaking news this morning, a bunch of it. I want to get your thoughts on it before we get into your stances on policy. And one of them is that, Joe Biden called all of Donald Trump's supporters garbage. That includes me and you, I assume. Yeah. I think you've endorsed Donald Trump. You're endorsed by Veterans for Trump.
I actually did before he, even before Iowa. I wrote a post about that and endorsed him, and still to today. I mean, let's be honest. If you have to choose between Kamala Harris and Donald J. Trump, the choice is clear. You have to go with Donald J. Trump. And, if you look just about Republican versus Democrat, the Republican Party versus the Democratic Party, the Democrats stand on a platform of trying to harm the nation.
Yeah. How do you feel about that? I mean, I tell you what, I'm very angry at the way the Democrats have gone about trying to divide this nation, and your opponent is one of the chief instigators of that division in his role as the chairman of the Unselect Committee on January 6th, the illegal one that I mentioned.
Yes, sir. Well,
to have the commander in chief, I don't care how demented his mind is or how low his cognitive capability is. He just called you and I, both with more than 50 years of active military service in multiple wars, have lost friends. My kids have 3 of my 5 kids have served and been in the wars. 2 of them. One is suffering from PTSD. We all support Mr. Trump because he loves America, and he's got the unity ticket. I mean, he's just like when I ran for U.S. Senate in my previous runs for office. I talked about unifying people and bringing all voters to come vote for my platform, and And Donald Trump essentially runs on the same platform, and he's pulling them in. We got Robert F. Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, all kinds of Democrats coming over. Gabbard's even going to join the Republican Party, to unify this country. And this man calls me and you a bunch of garbage? Come on.
Yes, sir. Well, I talk about that out on the campaign trail. It's not a red America, blue America, white America, black America. We're all Americans, and we must be united for that common good going forward. The Bible speaks of this in both Luke and Matthew. A kingdom that is divided is a house that will fall or fail. And the founding fathers talked about this. Patrick Henry, in his last public address, I believe it was March 1799, united we stand, divided we fall. Well, we have to be united for that common good. And we all come from one source. Acts 17:26, from one man he built all nations. And since we are just one race, the human race, we have to be united for that common good to save America and to save our country. And I'm a proud America First candidate, and that's my position, and that's where I'm going, to save America and to make the Mississippi Delta great once again. Because when you look at the Mississippi Delta and the 2nd Congressional District, everybody would tell you Mississippi is the poorest state in the nation. And I would tell you that is true on paper. But if you just looked at the 1st, the 3rd, and the 4th Congressional Districts, they're really around number 25. It is the 2nd Congressional District, 30 counties, 16 of the top 100 poorest counties in the nation, 5 in the top 10 poorest counties in the nation, pulls down the entire state, and that has a real negative effect upon Mississippi and, of course, the people within the 2nd Congressional District, my constituents.
Yeah, in the 2nd Congressional District, let me see if I can get this right. Correct me where I make an error, just so people understand. It's the western part of the state of Mississippi, almost from the north to the south. It includes Vicksburg. It includes Jackson, doesn't it? The capital of the state. And how far
Natchez,
south?
Greenville, Greenwood, Liberty. It really runs, you can figure it as anything west of I-55, with a couple of exceptions like Attala, Leake, and Montgomery counties, which tend to fall east of I-55. It is bigger than the state of Rhode Island. So from the north part of Mississippi to the southern part, the entire length of the Mississippi River.
Mississippi River. It includes the Mississippi River, the most precious resource, really natural resource of our state, isn't it?
It is. And, when you think about the state,
goods and services still, it's still that way, right?
It is. And if you think about this, agriculture is the number one industry in the state of Mississippi. It employs 17.1% of the state, bringing in over $8 billion a year. It was in November of 2021 that the Yazoo Backwater Project, which we in the Mississippi call the Yazoo Pump Project, they were going to put the pumps online. Benny Thompson went to the EPA and got that project shut down. That project would have stopped flooding of people's homes and croplands. That would have added probably another 100 days of growing season to the state of Mississippi, allowing us a potential third crop. A third crop would be a financial boon for the state of Mississippi. But not only is it good for Mississippi, but food is a national security issue, and it would decrease the chances of our own people someday going hungry. You let any population go hungry for 3 days, and you'll have riots that will make the summer of peace and love that the Democrats so affectionately like look like, a school picnic. And it's time that we do the right things and set the gears in motion to put manufacturing back in America, to make America energy independent. And, we're just going the wrong way. We keep forcing businesses out, like in the case of the 2nd Congressional District. Hinds County, which is where Jackson is, they keep trying to tax themselves to prosperity. And the end result is, like the Mercedes-Benz dealership moved 4.5 miles up the road and moved out of the Hinds County into Madison County. Puckett Machinery, about $80 million of revenue a year, moved 3.5 miles down the road out of Hinds County to Rankin County. Outback Steakhouse, the bookstore, Sam's Club, everything is moved out of Hinds County, because they thought they could tax their way to prosperity, and it doesn't work. You need to lower regulation. You need to lower taxes to incentivize businesses to come into an area. Good case in point like that would be like AOC when she got
to take a commercial break real quick.
Oh, yes,
Ron.
sir.
Let's go ahead and take this break. When we come back, I want to continue this discussion and dive into your specific policy proposals and the specific issues in this district, because it's a gerrymandered district to be a black majority district. So Benny Thompson's there not because of any skill that he has in staying there, other than the power of the incumbency, but because of his race, quite frankly. And he's actually hurting the constituents of the 2nd District. And that's why Mississippians deserve better than this communist. We'll be right back with his opponent, Army veteran, great American Ron Eller, right here on the Rob Maness Show.
Hello, I'm Brandon House of WorldviewTube.com. Do you remember when Fox News left us hanging high and dry 4 years ago on election night? Well, I sure do. Well, why would you want to go back and watch them on election night? And you don't have to. You can come right here, WorldviewTube.com. We're going to have with us live in studio Leo Holman, Colonel Rob Maness, Garland Favorito, on location at Mar-a-Lago, Roger Stone reporting. And we'll be getting updates and reports from the head pollster at Rasmussen, Mark Mitchell. Tell your family and friends and join us beginning at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern on election night, November 5th. WorldviewTube.com. You can also watch us on your flat screen television. Just go to Roku, type in WorldviewTube, and before you can finish typing it, it'll pop up. Save us as a favorite on your home screen of Roku and watch us right there on your flat screen television. Or watch us through our iOS app, WorldviewTube. WorldviewTube.com. Tell your friends. WorldviewTube, committed to helping you understand the times.
Clarence Thomas saying that he was an Uncle Tom. What did you mean by that?
Well, if you look at his decisions on the court, they have been adverse to the minority community, and the people I represent have a real issue with an African American not being sensitive to those issues.
Calling him an Uncle Tom, though, isn't that a racially charged term?
For some it is, but to others it's the truth.
Because, looking at that and hearing that kind of language, that certainly wouldn't be, appropriate if it was coming from somebody who was white.
But I'm black.
So it makes it okay?
Well, I mean, you asked me the question, and I'm giving you the response. The people that I represent, for the most part, have a real issue with those decisions. Voter ID, affirmative action, the Affordable Care Act, all those issues are very important. And for someone in the court who's African American and not sensitive to that is a real problem.
And the other thing that you were talking about is the fact that you believe that some of the opposition, maybe even much of the opposition to the president, is because of the color of his skin.
Well, I've been here a long time.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're blowing the whistle on that man right there. Longtime supporter of the Communist Party USA, endorsed by the Democratic Socialists of America, a well-known Marxist organization that even encourages what's called direct action, which is the violence you saw in the Summer of Love in 2020 from Black Lives Matter and Antifa. This man has a long history of being a traitor to the Constitution that he's sworn an oath to support and defend in his office there. And his name is Benny Thompson of the 2nd District of Mississippi. And his opponent today, his Republican opponent, is a U.S. Army veteran, highly awarded, decorated, and medical professional, Ron Eller. And also, I might add, the creator of a manufacturing business after he retired from the United States Army. Ron, we were talking about the 2nd District before we went to the break, and its condition. So the 2nd District brings the whole state really the way I understand it, to a level of poverty and need of funding from the federal government that outcompetes every other state.
That's true.
And when you take it out, we're at like number 25.
That's correct.
And as I stated, the facts are this is a gerrymandered district, so it's a majority black district under the old Reconstruction laws and civil rights laws that the Supreme Court has said don't have to be supervised anymore by the Department of Justice. So Mr. Thompson theoretically should be bringing the wealth home, and unemployment should be very low and prosperity should be high. Because they made these choices based on the color of his skin. But isn't the exact opposite occurring? You mentioned a bunch of businesses fleeing the district.
That is correct. And, when you think about this, like I was talking, his district, the only thing that has happened is since he's been in office since 1993. So he's coming up on 32 years. He's a career politician. He's never really had a job that I can trace back to. He was the mayor of Bolton, Mississippi. He was a Hinds County supervisor. But he's been a career politician all his life. The one thing that he's done is the district has actually gotten bigger in size. Last census, they ended up adding 4 counties because the district had lost 60,000 people in population and has gotten poorer as time has gone by. It's been decades of Democratic leadership that have led the district down the wrong path. And like the case of Jackson, they're really on that slippery slope. They have problems with trash pickup. They have problems with the water. It's in the national news all the time. They have a website called jacksongov.us that talks about taking Jackson and surrounding areas and making them into a communist country where they would everybody would get free housing and free utilities and $100,000 of reparation. And, this all sounds wonderful until you run out of other people's money. And that was kind of a spinoff of the Republic of New Africa. The Republic of New Africa was a movement to take South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana and make them into an independent black nation, not subject to federal and state laws. And their headquarters was in Detroit, Michigan. They moved it to Bolton, Mississippi. And who was that mayor again in Bolton? Oh, yeah, Benny Thompson. And he defended those folks. That was a true insurrection. They actually murdered some police officers. And, this is still all out there kind of afoot. And my interpretation of the U.S. Constitution, now, granted, I'm not a lawyer, but, I read at a pretty high level. Under the 14th Amendment, Section 3, if you've given aid and comfort to a foreign adversary, you're not eligible to be in office. And I asked that of some folks who are lawyers and who are in the office, and they all kind of get the wide-eyed look like, I haven't thought about that. It's like, well, I don't think the man's even eligible to be in office. But you brought up the January 6th, where he was the chairman of the January 6th committee. And I would tell you he was not eligible to be the chairman of the January 6th committee. You may remember when Trump was acquitted under his second impeachment, Benny Thompson came out on national news and said, I'm suing President Trump. Well, that action showed he had prejudice in this case, and therefore he should have recused himself from that position. He was not eligible to be the chairman of the January 6th committee. And of also interest, it is known that there's evidence from those committee hearings that is missing. Now, once again, I'm not a lawyer, but my understanding of law, is that that evidence, since there are ongoing litigations, had to be maintained for a minimum of 10 years. However, since these are historical documents, and this was a historical event, any of that should have been remanded to the National Archives for indefinite holding. And those things did not happen. This man does not follow the letter of the law. He believes he's above the law. And, he makes everything about white versus black. And that is wrong. Some of us have more melanin than others. That does not mean God loves one group more than another. We all come from one single source. And, I talked about that already. Acts 17:26. And if you don't want to go all the way back to Adam and Eve, then we can just stop with Noah and his 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth.
Yeah,
that I do know a lot about.
Let's talk about the economy in the 2nd District and your economic policies that you'll propose. And look, folks, this is a long shot. You can support Ron. What's your website again for donations?
My website is voteroneller.com. And if you just want to donate, there's a link off of that. Go to helpron.com. And that's the easy way. We're trying to actually put a commercial out here in the last couple of days. I know Benny Thompson is worried about our campaign of about $40,000. He normally has 1 fish fry a year. He's already had 2. He had a rally a mile from my house. He brought in Pete Buttigieg, from D.C. to travel to Delta and talk about infrastructure and how they're going to improve it. Well, Benny, you've been in office for 32 years. Why didn't you do it, in the last 32 years? You're going to do it now? Yeah. That's like Kamala Harris. Oh, I'm going to do this and this and this. Well, you've been in office all these time. You've spent a lot of time as a senator. You've been the vice president for the last 3.5 years. Why haven't you done something up to this point? And let's be honest. I'm pretty sure she's been the president for the last 3.5 years in combination with Obama, because, Biden does not have the mental faculties to be the president. He was just a figurehead.
Yeah. Is it a valid assumption for me to make that the unemployment rate in the 2nd District is higher than the other 3 districts in the state of Mississippi?
I believe that is a valid assumption. And actually, a lot of the people that live in the 2nd Congressional District move, or they drive out of the 2nd Congressional District to other areas in the state to work on a daily basis. The biggest thing that you have to do immediately.
What will you do from an economic perspective to help rectify that situation? Because people shouldn't have to drive long distances to get to a good job.
You're correct. The first thing that you have to do is we have to finish the pumps. We have to stop the flooding. If you stop the flooding, then that makes it a little bit more attractive for business to be there. That allows us to expand our agricultural services. And recently I had a meeting with our agricultural commissioner, Andy Gibson, and we brought in some folks that we talked with about how to improve the rate of aqua farming for like catfish and stuff like that, water treatment method that would actually increase the rate of catfish growth by about 30%. And these are the kind of things that you need to do. You need to be initiative, proactive, not reactive. Besides I think about like when AOC got the deal thrown out of Queens, New York. This was a great tax example. I went to the Hinds County economic developer because he lived a couple doors away from me, and we talked about it. And I said, we need to go after this deal, and we have to go after these companies. In the case of that, his statement was, well, we can't get this done because we have, not enough people with that type of training. I said, it's a 3-year buildup, and we could train these people. It's a 6-month training program that they had. And I said, in the case of Hinds County, you have 55 north and south, 20 east and west. So you have 2 major highways crossing the nation. You have major railheads, major waterways. You have an international airport. We have better weather, lower taxes, and cheaper property. We could have gone after this deal and brought in the entire Amazon plant, but they didn't have the wherewithal, the gumption to go after that, and it's failure. Maybe they wouldn't have gone for it, but I believe it would have been the condition of the movie Field of Dreams. You build it and they'll come. If you don't go after it and you don't try for it, you don't know what is possible. And
and I guarantee the people that need work in that part of the state would jump on the opportunity to get training and be part of the workforce development program and get those jobs, be able to be competitive for those jobs, whether they're high school graduates, dropouts, college graduates or not. There would be a whole lot of jobs coming in with a project like that. We've got to take our next break. Ron, when we come back, we will continue this discussion with you about what you would do different than this guy, Benny Thompson, who his constituents are underserved because of this man, because he's not bringing freedom, prosperity to those American citizens that are there, and they need those jobs. What is going on here? I'll tell you what's going on. Over-reliance on government handouts, and we need people that understand business and understand what needs to be done to come into that district. Ron Eller is one of those Americans. We'll be right back on the Rob Maness Show.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
This resolution, the United States Congress resoundingly declares our support for Israel, not with revenge, but with justice, that justice will be done. And when doing so, we continue to remain concerned about the humanitarian situation in Gaza with civilians caught in the middle of the war. I echo Secretary Blinken's call for a humanitarian pause so that innocent lives can be saved. 80 years ago, Mr. Speaker, on the floor of this House, my father, as a member of Congress, Thomas D'Alessandro from Maryland, called upon the Roosevelt administration to support the establishment of a state of Israel in what was known as Palestine at the time. He was early in calling for that. So it's in my DNA to protect that state of Israel. Hamas is dedicated to the destruction of the state of Israel. Hamas has been declared a terrorist organization by the United States. Hamas must be destroyed. But in destroying them, we must protect the children in Gaza. They use them as shields. We want to protect them.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Worldview Tube's Whistleblower Wednesday here on the show. And my guest is the opponent of Congressman Benny Thompson from the Mississippi 2nd Congressional District, who, it's my understanding, would not co-sponsor that bill supporting Israel immediately after Hamas's Holocaust-like atrocities on October 7th, 2023, although I think he eventually voted for it. And my guest is his opponent, U.S. Army veteran and medical provider, physician assistant in cardiac surgery, Ron Eller. Ron, that is something that Ron, that is something that, we saw that Thompson's racist comments in the last segment, using phrases like Uncle Tom to describe Justice Clarence Thomas, a fellow Black American that's a high-level leader in the United States of America. You would think that we wouldn't be tolerating racism like that from any quarter in this country ever. And then we see in this clip here, Pelosi, who was Speaker of the House twice, is supporting this resolution to support Israel. It was just a resolution saying, hey, Israel has a right to exist, a right to defend itself, etc. Nothing else. Wasn't providing any funding that I know of and those kind of things. And the man would not co-sponsor it. And he later signed on to a letter with 13 other Marxist Democrats supporting Hamas by another representative named Troy Carter from over in the 2nd District of Louisiana. So what is going on with this man? And what are your views on that issue as far as Israel's right to defend itself?
Yes, sir. Well, I've actually lived and worked in Israel as well as Gaza and, the Sinai Peninsula. And I would tell you that Trump was on the right path, moving the embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. We need to support and defend our allies. This two-state solution thing really doesn't work. They need to be one nation, and they need to coexist together. Just like here in America, we are a melting pot. And I can tell you, having been to Tel Aviv many a times, Beersheba, Jerusalem, they are a melting pot as well. And you'll see people of Arab, Israeli descent living together, working together, and they're not that divided. It's that the political elite wish to keep people divided, because if they can keep you divided, you're easier to control. And, I will back supporting the state of Israel. And, we have to go forward in that type of capacity.
That's not sewage, is it?
Yeah, when we see this efforts to divide Israel, it really matches up with the Democrat Party's vision that Kamala Harris is showing, and going back to Joe Biden's calling us all garbage, the politics of division right here in the United States of America. Thompson, the district that he comes from, is based on that type of policy. And do you think that that's good for Americans, especially the constituents in the 2nd District, as far as their freedom, their prosperity, and their ability to make a living?
No, sir. And, like you were saying, we have to be united for the common good. It's that these people want to keep us divided. Thompson has shown clearly that he has no interest in working with other people. He is a racist. He's a communist. And people are afraid to say those things, but it's the truth. You go to keywiki.org. Trevor Loudon has written a book about this, and he has it all outlined there. And, we really need to look at who we're electing. Elections have consequences, and unfortunately, people don't get this. I'm sorry for that background noise. I'm in the OR break room area, and so
that's all right. You work for a living. You work for a living, doing something else besides working in the government, and Americans appreciate that. You're the type of person we want to get more in office instead of these career politicians. Just because Benny's a communist and a Marxist doesn't mean that I like him any less for being or more for being a career politician, because career politicians are what are destroying this country. And it's why the 2nd District of Mississippi is in poverty, isn't getting its people the training and workforce development experience that they need in order to get these good paying jobs that we could bring in, that a congressman like you could bring into the area, and those kind of things. And that's what it's all about. Instead of continuing to just deliver government funding to your buddies, right?
Correct. There's only one color that we need to worry about when it comes to politics, and that's green. Can you bring the green home? And, speaking of career politicians, I also happen to be the chairman for the state for term limits. And I have a Bible verse that I use about that often. Psalms 109:8. May his days be few, may another take his position of leadership. And
now, have you set if you're elected, or have you set yourself a term limit, a set of term limits, and what are they?
The term limits, there's a bill that's been there in Congress that's just never made it out of committee on the floor to vote, and that would be 3 terms in the Congress, 2 terms in the Senate. And I'm sure it'll get modified when it actually gets passed. But I'm 63, getting ready to turn 64 years old. I'm not looking for another career. I already get a retirement check from the military. I've been doing healthcare here in the state of Mississippi for over 20 years, taking care of the people from the Mississippi Delta. Our rate of cardiac disease, diabetes, obesity are kind of through the roof. So I've taken care of a lot of these people, their moms, their dads, their husbands, their wives, their children. They know who I am and they know what's going on. And it's time that we move forward.
Have you gotten any feedback from the folks you're talking to in the district about Robert F. Kennedy's joining the Trump campaign and the Make America Healthy Again programs that he's going to start implementing and reviewing all of these institutions that have really betrayed the American people, like the Center for Disease Control, the HHS department, that have lied to our people about things like the COVID-19 vaccine, the treatments available for COVID when we were going through that, and the hiding of data about adverse reactions from the vaccine and the all-cause mortality death rates from that period of time. What are you hearing from folks? Are folks that wouldn't ordinarily vote for a Republican excited at all to hear that RFK Jr. is on the team and will bring programs that will help improve the health status of their lives in that area?
They are excited about this because healthcare, when you look at priorities of the average American that's out there voting, number one deals with economics, two deals with border security, three deals with healthcare. Now, the Democrats are trying to make healthcare out to be an abortion issue. There's an article that just came out that I was reading last night that shows actually since the Dobbs decision, that's Dobbs v. Jackson, the overturning of Roe v. Wade, abortions in this country are actually up 20%. So this idea that all people aren't going to be able to get an abortion, well, that's hogwash because they're up 20%. Now, I would tell you as a Christian and as a healthcare worker, I think this is probably a bad thing. There's, let's see, it was Luke 17:2. It would be better for you to tie the millstone around your neck and be cast into the sea than to harm one of these little ones or to make one of these little ones stumble. I'm a pro-life guy, but I'm not going to demand that you follow my religious convictions, but I will make sure that you know what you're doing before you do it. I think requiring them to have a 3D ultrasound, so you can see, hey, that is a baby in there. This is not a thing. This is not just a few little cells. This is another human being, is an important idea. Now, if you're going to go forward with that, that's another thing, but that's your choice. I believe healthcare is a major issue for Mississippi as well as America. And this idea of going to a socialized medicine type of a system is not a good idea. I've lived in countries with socialized medicine. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in Canada. I've lived in Israel. And you're going to be put on a waiting list. And we'll get to a point where, just like in China, you'll end up with a social credit score. And it's like, well, Colonel, you're 73 years old. And yes, you need an aortic valve surgery and you're having heart failure symptoms. But you're too old. You're not going to be a productive member of society. You're probably going to only live another 10 years. So, we're just going to treat you medically. And, if you survive longer, great. But if you don't, oh, well, we'll remove bad debt from the medical system. And whereas under our system, you'll get your surgery and, you'll have a better quality of life and you'll do well. And lots of people, I've seen people have their aortic valves replaced in their 70s, 80s. I just discharged a young lady this morning who had a transcatheter aortic valve done yesterday. She's 79. Mm-hmm. I had a patient this week who was 101, and she banked her vote for President Trump, by the way. She's a great American, and she'll tell you, if she at 101 can do this, then everybody out there can get out there and vote. Because this is about saving our country. This is about the next generation. And if we don't give them the skills and the ability to go forward, our country is doomed.
Yeah, I'm excited by RFK's coming into the campaign, and he's going to get a position in the administration to deal with this stuff. One of the big issues is about the use of seed oils. It kind of got highlighted when President Trump worked at McDonald's, and people were saying, well, there's an obesity problem in this country. Why is he setting a bad example and going and working at McDonald's, a fast food place? Well, when you look at pictures sitting outside of McDonald's, and RFK Jr. posted one of his dad outside of McDonald's eating a hamburger, and he pointed something out that McDonald's and all these fast food restaurants used to use beef tallow to fry their French fries in, and they transitioned over to seed oil, and you can correlate the increase in the obesity epidemic and the type 2 diabetes epidemic right back to near the time frame when they started using seed oils instead of beef tallow. I mean, that's one of the simple things that we can look at, and we could use some help from Congress. So we've got to take our last break, Ron. When we come back, look, Thompson's on the Homeland Security Committee. That's why he was the chairman of the J6 Unselect Illegal Committee. And I want to talk about border security, how it's impacting the 2nd District with all these illegal aliens and crime and all those things, and what Benny's views on it and how you're going to be different. We'll be right back with Ron Eller, the challenger to Benny Thompson of Mississippi's 2nd District, who's just a terrible representative for our people.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
Judge, the other thing that comes to mind is that it's not just that you have people on the terror watch list coming across the border illegally and staying in one place. Now they could be anywhere in the country. And how do you track them?
They can be anywhere, and we're not going to track them because we don't. I mean, we let them in. I think it was in 2021, as you said, 99% of the migrants who came in are staying in the United States, and that's 2 million people. 99%. Now let's talk about Hamas. If anybody thinks that Hamas is not already in this country, I think they're naive, because when you think about it, that what happened in Israel is about the extinction of the Jewish race. It's not about territory. And if Hamas hates Jews, you know that they're in this country as well. And what the Biden administration has done is he has allowed a wholesale entrance. He's made this country nothing more than a global landing spot with benefits. No questions, no DNA, no nothing. And even if they do tell you you have to go to court, you don't have to go for another 6 or 7 years. Right. I mean, we look like fools on the world stage. And, you know, Michael Waltz, congressman, indicated that there's a history of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps working with the Mexican drug cartels to enter through our open border. So and think about it. Israel is the little Satan. We are the great Satan. We are inextricably tied to Israel, and we have allowed Hamas to come into this country along with all kinds of people. 1.5 million getaways. We don't even know who they are.
Right.
We got a problem.
And if they would have even been on the terror watch list, because you don't.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Whistleblower Wednesday, and we're on the eve of the biggest election in my lifetime. I'm 63 years old, too, and my guest today is Ron Eller, a U.S. Army veteran and medical provider, still to this day in cardiac and thoracic surgery here at the best capable hospital in the state of Mississippi, and he's running against 2nd District Congressman Benny Thompson here in Mississippi, who really he may bring home dollars, government dollars to that district, but those dollars aren't translating down to the average man and woman who have to make decisions because of the high prices due to policies that Benny Thompson supports 100%. They have to choose between putting gas in their car or buying groceries instead of being able to do both and make sure their kids are able to grow up and become adults in a society where they can be better off than their parents. That doesn't exist right now. So we've got to make the American dream possible again. And Ron Eller can help us do that. Ron, I wanted to turn to border security just a bit here because Thompson is the Homeland Security Committee guy. He's got seniority and all that, but he fully supports this open borders policy that lets people, groups like Hamas infiltrate this country, doesn't he?
He does. And, that's the unique thing about this race. If you think about this, we need President Trump. No question about that. But the ranking member of Homeland Security is none other than Benny Thompson. And Mississippi has the opportunity to be the only folks that can remove him from that position. Benny Thompson fully supports the Biden-Harris agenda. He fully supports the Democratic agenda. He believes in putting transgender people above little girls, putting boys and men in girls' locker rooms, girls' sports, taking away their scholarship potentials under Title IX. He believes in the open border. In Mississippi, we have a casino that's in Tunica County that has been closed for a few years. He tried to move 2,000 illegal aliens to that casino. He tried to do this in Union County as well. Senator Kathy Chisholm, the state senator in that area, got that shut down. In Tunica County, fortunately, the county supervisor stood their ground and said, no, you're not going to do this. We don't have the other kind of infrastructure to support having 2,000 new residents. He's trying to push a America Last agenda, not America First agenda. And we need changes in Homeland Security. We need border security. You had a little segment there that talked about Hamas being in this country. If you doubt that, then you probably think 9/11 didn't happen. We have terrorists that are actively standing by in this country, and we have to get this under control. If we don't, we will be destroyed by the enemy within. And that enemy within includes a lot of people that are in office right now. Think about the squad, people like Ilhan Omar, Tlaib, Alexandria Cortez, and Benny Thompson, you might as well say, is one of those squad members. He might not say that, but let's be honest. He supports that agenda. He does not support Israel. He does not support backing America. And it's time that we change to an America First policy and put Americans and our country in the number one position, not second to other places.
Well, it sounds like Senator Chisholm nearly averted the situation like what happened in Springfield, Ohio, where they brought in 30,000 Haitian refugees, did a legal trick to make them appear to be legal immigrants instead of the illegal aliens that they are. And the town is only 50,000 people. And now you hear about overwhelmed school systems, not having enough resources, not having enough dollars to get interpreters because the people can't speak proper English, the kids there. And I know that Mississippi is documented, according to Shad White's office, I believe, that we spend over $100 million a year in the state on public education for illegal alien children, right?
That is correct. I think what we could do with an extra $100 million for the state of Mississippi. This business of trying to bring in illegal aliens to the state is wrong. And when you think about voting, that there's a big movement to allow these people to vote. And let's be honest, voter ID laws, in order to get an ID, is all you have to do now, legal or not, is show up and get your driver's license, and you just check a block that, yep, I'm here registering to vote at the same time. The next thing you know, you're on the voter rolls. Do I believe we're going to have illegal citizens voting? Yes, I do. Well, they're not citizens. And I would tell you, when I think about people who come here illegally, the first thing I would say is, if you came here illegally and you had a child in America and you were here illegally, then that child should not be a U.S. citizen. You shouldn't be getting birthright citizenship just because you ran across the border in El Paso and dropped a baby, type of a situation. If you're trying to kill a weed, you cut the root so that the rest of the plant can't grow. Well, this would cut chain migration. The next thing that I would do along those lines, if you come here illegally, even if you somehow become a citizen, then you should not have the right to vote in any federal election. That takes away the motivation from any party going forward for this. And I can remember several soldiers that I worked with over the years that came here from other countries, and they became U.S. citizens. They spent years in the military. They learned the language, they got a skill, and they served the nation. I, commend those individuals. And it's just like, people that want free college and stuff like this. You want a free college education? I'll tell you how to get it. I actually went in the military and finished high school at Fort Benning, Georgia, from Jordan Vocational High School. I turned around, started taking night classes and correspondence courses. I left 20 years, 4 months later with 2 college degrees. And, I lived that darn commercial, be all you can be. But I had the gumption to get out there, and you're going to have to excuse the expression. My mom taught me this as a child. But if you want anything in this life, you got to get up early and scratch shit with the chickens. Well, baby, I'm scratching.
My dad he finished high school after he enlisted in the Air Force himself. So I really admire that effort. Thompson, he like we said, he fully supports these policies. And you mentioned illegals or non-citizens voting. And, just before the show started, I found out Supreme Court has overruled the lower court judge that was trying to stop the governor of Virginia from removing non-citizens from their voter rolls that are on them. And the SCOTUS has stayed that lower court's decision. So now the governor of Virginia will be able to remove non-citizens from their voter rolls, as it should be. Because,
Correct.
when we started saying, hey, these illegals are going to vote, people like Benny Thompson said, oh, no, it's against the law already for a non-citizen to vote. And come to find out, there's a public policy program started by Joe Biden and Benny Thompson and Kamala Harris that actually directs government agencies to register people to vote instead of the political parties. And I think that's an illegal use of American tax dollars because they're using it in a partisan way, because most people that come into contact with agencies like the Medicaid offices in the states are tending to be Democrat voters, aren't they?
That's true. There's a group here in Mississippi that's actually been kind of looking at the voter rolls. One of my volunteers actually ran the entire voter rolls for Panola County, as an example. That's one of the counties in the district. And she found over almost 300 people, over 200 people that had a single address. And it wasn't a home address. It was a Job Corps. They don't live there. That shouldn't be, they shouldn't be on the voter rolls if they don't have an address. They ran a bunch of the colleges. They found several colleges where they have thousands of people who are using the college as their address since 1990. They found about 5,000 people over the age of 140 that are supposedly actively voting on the voter rolls. There's nobody in America that's 140 years old. Let's just be honest. This is voter fraud. People from the grave were voting. And, I hope that when I someday pass, that I don't come back and vote Democrat.
Yeah. Well, Ron, it's been a great time interviewing you. I appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy out there pounding the pavement, so to speak, and shaking hands with voters and trying to get people to come vote for you across party lines, independents, et cetera, because that's what it's going to take to beat this guy. And I know it's a long shot. Tell folks once again where they can find the links to read more about you. Tell a little bit about who all's endorsed you that are in really powerful positions in the state, and then I'll let you go.
Very good. Go to voteroneller.com if you just want to learn about me. From there, you can click a link to donate, or you can go to helpron.com. That's voteroneller.com, helpron.com. My phone number is real simple. It's 888-ELLER22, because in 22, I started the mission to take back America. That's 888-355-3722. Unlike Joe Biden, I do know my own phone number. I've had endorsements from folks like Roger Wicker, Cindy Hyde-Smith, our two senators, Trent Kelly, the congressman from the 1st District, Michael Guest, the congressman from the 3rd District. You name a state representative or a state senator, and pretty much so all of those have endorsed me, like Rodney Hall in North Mississippi. Governor Tate Reeves has endorsed me. Former Governor Phil Bryant has endorsed me. Former Governor Haley Barber's endorsed me. Our Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann has endorsed me. Shad White, the state auditor, has endorsed me. Our Agriculture Commissioner, because he knows I understand farming and will support the farmers and agricultural growth. Andy Gibson has endorsed me. It's easier to find those that haven't than who have endorsed me. They
great,
get this.
Well,
it might not be a big money campaign, but we're doing big things. Actually, last year, because of all this, I was able to get a bill introduced to the Mississippi State House. I've never been in office, and that is HB 1250. It's still in committee. That would put the Bible back in every classroom. And I've done arguments at the Attorney General's office, and she's also endorsed me. There are big things happening, and America is poised to go the right direction, and Mississippi is poised to help lead that. For people that don't understand, Mississippi is a lot different than other places. We are the hospitality state. We are part of the Bible Belt, but not only we're part of the Bible Belt, but we're the buckle of the Bible Belt. And we believe in God and country and Christian traditional values. My platform is based on free enterprise, limited government, individual liberties, national defense, and traditional values. Well, if this sounds like you, regardless of what party you belong to, I'm your guy. It's not a person like Benny.
My friend. Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll get this out there, folks. You need to support Ron Eller to get this guy, Benny Thompson, who really is a traitor to the oath of office to support and defend the Constitution, because he acts on his betrayals by doing things that are against that Constitution in the name of his own office and his own political power. That's wrong here in the United States of America. I don't care how long you've lived or who you are. And I'm Rob Maness. We'll be back tomorrow on Truth Thursday here at Worldview Tube. And Chad Caton and I are putting our closing message out on why Donald Trump has to be the next president of the United States for the second time this week. I'll see you then.
CW Broadcast Network is pleased to present the Ivan Raiklin Report with retired Lieutenant Colonel of the Green Beret, Ivan Raiklin. Ivan served 25 years in the Department of Defense, Intel, and Special Operations communities as an enlisted officer, civilian contractor on active duty, reserves, and National Guard across 5 states. Most recently, he was an instructor at the Joint Military Intelligence Training Center, teaching the U.S. intelligence intel community and international partners about intelligence analysis, national security, and multinational operations. He is currently a constitutional attorney. And now, here is your host, Ivan Raiklin.
Hey, reporting from Dallas, Texas, folks. Been in Texas all week, and guess what? For those of you that know a little bit about history in Texas, well, before I go into that, let me just kind of tee it up this way. We have, in Dallas, 60-something years ago, a major event that took place. But I'm not going to go into that yet. That's going to be later in the show. I'm going to say this, that I have been in Texas, starting in Houston earlier this week, I did Dinesh D'Souza's podcast. If you missed it, go ahead and watch it on my Rumble channel. And then 2 days ago on Tuesday, I did an interview with Roseanne Barr, and then that'll air next Thursday. Yesterday, I was in InfoWars Studios, Mike Adams Studios at Brighteon. Had a couple of meetings with different folks to include state Senate representatives. I think I'm going to publish some of that information here on today's show. And then today, so what is that? Houston, Austin area. And now I'm in Dallas. So if you missed the RFK Tucker event 2 days ago where they discussed the assassination of RFK's uncle, I want to remind you of where that took place. Let's go ahead and play that video, Mr. Producer, and show them of what Dealey Plaza, Texas is and where JFK was assassinated and how it possibly applies to today's day and age. Go ahead, play. All right, America, I'm over here at Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas, known as the front door of Dallas. Okay, 1963, John F. Kennedy was assassinated here. So let's take a look. Plaza, the grassy knoll. You've seen the movie JFK. So this is my debut here. And this is where, remember they were talking about the school book depository? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th floor. Supposedly there was a shooter. This here's the grassy knoll. It looks like we're gonna have to revisit this as we start to dig into the CIA files. I'm guessing that the Bush name is going to be or Bush fingerprints, HW, are going to be all over this assassination. And then we're going to see John Brennan and maybe Bush associates behind the 2 and now 3 attempted assassination attempts of Donald Trump. So let's take a look. This is where he was driving through. He being John F. Kennedy. And he was assassinated. Past his prologue, right, folks? A lot of people say. Well, we need to dig in to see who assassinated JFK, RFK, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and see if there's any relationship to those individuals with those that are weaponizing against Donald J. Trump in an escalatory fashion, now with several attempted assassinations. Dallas police ran up this hill, which he called a grassy knoll. Some witnesses believe shots came from the knoll area, but police found no evidence of a gunman. The wooden stockade fence at the top, rebuilt several times since 1963, is a reproduction of the original fence. So up in this area,
there you have it. You now know where I was. Definitely in Dallas, Texas. So just today, we've been moving around across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And the focus of today has been to synchronize and coordinate the key influencers in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to connect, synchronize, to increase the demand signal that Ken Paxton, State Attorney General of Texas, and State Senator Brian Hughes needs to go ahead and consider and moving towards having a meeting with Elon Musk as they figure out a method to go ahead and release more and more information and subpoena more and more information within Twitter's holdings, Twitter 1.0 that is, so we can hold some individuals to account, particularly the Jim Baker, who's the conduit on behalf of the deep state to go ahead and run the censorship industrial complex. And through Jim Baker, you're going to find all these treasonous communications with the FBI, the 51 spies who lied, and then beyond, the national security apparatus. From there, you're also going to see who is involved over at the San Francisco field office of the FBI. And then from there, you're going to continue to find out who was involved in big tech with the censorship industrial complex. So right now, I'm just in the lobby waiting for my next interview. So far today, let's see, have I done any interviews? No, but yesterday I did quite a few. And Mr. Producer, you know what? If you can scroll through my X, there's about an 8-minute clip that I think I want to play. It's the clip of me on Alex Jones's show, where so in the middle of, sorry, if you can pull up the clip.
Oh, no, you're
Sorry, I got some activity here and we're doing it live. I just wanted to let you know. Just wanted to let you know that, you know what, Mr. Producer, pull up that Alex Jones clip, and I think let's go ahead and play that. Let me know when you're ready. It's me on Alex Jones on InfoWars, where we discuss the speaker of the Trump play. It's about an 8-minute clip. So let's go ahead and play that, and then we'll go to break.
And so there's this Trump speakership thing in the interim in the 76 days. Now you've got my attention. You're telling me it came very close to him being the speaker when McCarthy left already. So quantify and explain this to people. Go ahead.
Yeah, so back the first time when we were discussing the Speaker Trump play and Matt Gaetz actually nominated him back in the first go, I was talking to an individual. I don't want to disclose the name of the individual within the campaign, high level, and they were communicating with President Trump the actual play of him becoming the Speaker of the House. Initially, they didn't quite understand the power and the influence, but we got to a point where after I think the 15th vote, I kind of explained exactly how that would look like for a temporary speakership. And they presented it to him, and he was literally teetering, I'm being told, on whether or not to accept the speakership. And I think that needs to be readdressed in light of, we now know that there's an inside risk, because right now the security bubble that is providing security for candidate Trump is the security detail that's directed by his political enemy, right? DHS Mayorkas, who's the guy letting in 10, 15 million illegals. So the only way outside of the campaign expending all of its resources to protect Donald Trump that I see legally, constitutionally, is for somebody like a Bob Good or even the new House Freedom Caucus chairman, Andy Harris, to go ahead and file a motion to vacate good old Speaker Johnson and then hold a vote nominating candidate Trump to be the Speaker of the House through January 3rd of next year when the new House comes in. And the reason being is that it protects him and his security detail, because he gets to appoint a person that he trusts as the House Sergeant at Arms. And then that House Sergeant at Arms can now start to implement what Anna Paulina Luna just filed a motion that was voted on, which was an inherent contempt charge against Garland. And at the time right now when the budget, the appropriations are being voted on, it would be very nice for a Speaker Trump to go on offense and be the matador, if you will, proverbially, of the deep state. And I brought this little flag here to kind of showcase what that would look like. I don't know. Alex, where are you at? Let's go, Deep State.
While other networks lie to you about what's happening now, InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening next. Visit Infowars.com/show and share the link today.
All right, so you brought me a shirt? Oh, thank you. Ivan Ricklin, host this last 5 minutes with your Trump speaker idea that I know got very close. People don't know that. You're going to break some news here. Deep State Marauder, that's what you're known as. And by the way, you're basically living up on Capitol Hill. And so there's this Trump speakership thing in the interim in the 76 days. Now you've got my attention. You're telling me it came very close to him being the speaker when McCarthy left already. So quantify and explain this to people. Go ahead.
Yeah, so back the first time when we were discussing the Speaker Trump play and Matt Gaetz actually nominated him back in the first go, I was talking to an individual. I don't want to disclose the name of the individual within the campaign, high level, and they were communicating with President Trump the actual play of him becoming the Speaker of the House. Initially, they didn't quite understand the power and the influence, but we got to a point where after I think the 15th vote, I kind of explained exactly how that would look like for a temporary speakership, and they presented it to him, and he was literally teetering, I'm being told, on whether or not to accept the speakership. And I think that needs to be readdressed in light of we now know that there's an inside risk, because right now the security bubble that is providing security for candidate Trump is the security detail that's directed by his political enemy, right? DHS Mayorkas, who's the guy letting in 10, 15 million illegals. So the only way outside of the campaign expending all of its resources to protect Donald Trump that I see legally, constitutionally, is for somebody like a Bob Good or even the new House Freedom Caucus chairman, Andy Harris, to go ahead and file a motion to vacate good old Speaker Johnson and then hold a vote nominating candidate Trump to be the Speaker of the House through January 3rd of next year when the new House comes in. And the reason being is that it protects him and his security detail because he gets to appoint a person that he trusts as the House Sergeant at Arms. And then that House Sergeant at Arms can now start to implement what Anna Paulina Luna just filed a motion that was voted on, which was an inherent contempt charge against Garland. And at the time right now when the budget, the appropriations are being voted on, it would be very nice for a Speaker Trump to go on offense and be the matador, if you will, proverbially, of the deep state. And I brought this little flag here to kind of showcase what that would look like. I don't know. Alex, where are you at? Let's go, deep state. So that's the idea that I'm thinking of, is for us to go ahead and create that framework. And here's what it does. If a person that's a Republican in the U.S. House votes to not support a Speaker Trump, that means that they're indirectly supporting his assassination because they're voting to not allow him to have a security detail that he gets to control, that he trusts.
No, it's a great idea. Show us his flag again. That's great.
That's for you, baby.
Really?
Yeah.
Who made this?
I got it as a gift from Patriots up in Portland, Oregon. I'm going to give them a shout out.
Hey, well, this is going on my wall.
So at the bottom it says, what does it say? Bring it up a little bit. El Magador by J-Mac, the charge. Instead of Matador, it's Magador.
I'm hanging on the wall. I love it.
So that's the idea behind it.
We'll put it out. We're going to put this out on X. It's out live right now. But what's the headline? Republican Congress seriously considering Trump for speakership when he's president-elect.
No, it can be done literally today if they decide. Remember what Matt Gaetz did? He files a motion to vacate. They remove Johnson, and then they have to nominate another speaker.
So the headline is Republicans considering making Trump speaker
in order to provide him security that Mayorkas.
But even more importantly, they're talking about removing Biden somehow to make her the president as a stunt first. And Roger's really worried about that. That's another angle, is Democrats plan to remove Biden to make her the president, make Trump the speaker, so he gets security. Well, yeah. Go in there, because I got another guest coming up. Great having you here. Come up with a great headline for the crew, or I'll do it after. But this is a big video. We need a big idea, so you're right.
Provides him security.
Ivan Ricklin, thank you very much.
Alex?
All right. Now, a lot of you will recognize this bad boy. because it was a limited edition bestseller years ago. We've updated it and brought it back due to your demanding it. And it is a conservation shirt. It's a great conversation piece. Atrazine's literally sterilizing and killing frog populations and bending the gender of our young boys and giving our girls cancer. So this is a real conservation shirt. You can serve our operation, keep us on air, and stand up for amphibian life that are being poisoned by the chemicals that are turning the frogs gay. Now, I love this shirt as well because the left's always acting like they're the Mavericks, they're the Trailblazers, they're the Outlaws. No, ladies and gentlemen, we are the rebels against the globalists. We are the resistance, and I'm voting for the outlaw. Fight the tyrants at point-blank range and meet like-minded people and spread the word in the third dimension. Take action now and don't let the left silence you. TheAlexJonesStore.com.
We live in uncertain times. In fact, we live at a time when our own governments all over the world are warning us that there could be big problems with our power grid. World War III seems to be right on the horizon. Let me ask you this. Do you have a satellite phone? Should communications go down with cell towers? Do you have a satellite phone to get a hold of that college student or your spouse who travels, whatever it might be, to get a hold of your senior adult parents? We have satellite phones at worldviewtalk.com, and you get the satellite phone for free when you sign up for their very reasonable payment programs for the service. Sign up for the service with a reasonable contract, get the satellite phone for free. Worldviewtalk.com. You'll also find they have, well, what I now have, which is a solar generator. Yeah, I have a gas generator, an LP propane generator, but what if that goes down? I want to back up to my backup. So I now have a solar generator as well. You'll find them at worldviewtalk.com. Check it out today, worldviewtalk.com.
We've learned through the pandemic we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
The third one. I'm just chillaxing here, waiting at Glenn Beck Studios to be interviewed by probably the most boring comedian in the history of humanity.
Oh, speaking of the most boring comedian in the history of humanity.